Hi, Madonna. Just preparing for my day. I've had a spate of people coming and pick up HCG drops since Christmas. It's interesting because this time of year often sets us off with wanting to sort out our goals for the year, having a look at what we achieved, what we didn't achieve, and obviously weight and weight management is one of those big challenges that we all have to face every day of our lives when we're having a problem with it. So with the HCG process, because I've been doing it for like 12 years now, I've got a fairly good handle on what works, what doesn't work, how the process works, because I've had some people, including myself, when we've done it, I have done VLAs, so bioimpedance screenings every single day. So therefore I sort of know what's going on when people hit a stall, when things are going on that we're not expecting. So one of the things that I find, just sort of one of my tips for the day on HCG, is if you don't get a bioimpedance screening with someone, and you can even get scales these days, they're not as accurate by any stretch of the imagination, but nonetheless, you can do a bioimpedance screening on your scales. But they're actually taking most of, it's all about the hip size, so they're not taking into account the size of above the waist. So they're sort of doing a measurement of the hips and then making a determination of fat mass, muscle mass through that sort of algorithm, as opposed to actually looking at the entire amount of fat and muscle and fluid in your body, which is what a real bioimpedance screen does. And that's huge. Finding out that level of information and knowing what's going on. So one of my ladies yesterday, she's always done really well with the keto program. She gets on keto, she gets herself back to her optimal weight. It's just not working these days. She's hit menopause, she's had a lot of stress, and it's just got to that spot where the weight just isn't moving. So the thing I love about HCG, and especially for people who have tried other things and they've always worked and now it's not working, sometimes it is the stress that has laid down brown fat, and we need to be starving or freezing to death to actually start moving that brown fat. So we don't starve very often here in Australia. Plentiful food. I'm sure that's the case with many places in the world where you're watching this from. But what HCG does is releases the brown fat. Now, brown fat is both good and bad. 10,000 years ago, when we were going through a 3-month winter, and it was going to be snowing all day every day, and we were likely to freeze to death or starve to death because of a lack of food, brown fat's fantastic. It keeps us warm, and it's a plentiful source of nutrients. These days, we don't really need that much brown fat in our body, and it's hard to mobilise. So the process of HCG mobilises that brown fat. That's what it does. So that's why when you're running on the 500 calorie a day diet, which is not a lot, you're not really running on 500 calories, because the brown fat it makes up about 1,500 to 2,000 calories per day, which is why people aren't hungry. Love HCG, and it's time for me to do another round. But it's one of those things that when it works, it just works so brilliantly. But when you do your bioimpedance screening, if you're actually under in muscle mass to start with, your body will actually utilize a lot of the brown fat, the mitochondria that's in the brown fat, in order to create new muscle mass as you're going through the process. And once again, I've found this by doing VLAs over the last 12 years and finding out that people's muscle mass actually improves on HCG, and so does the muscle quality, which is quite a phenomenon given the low calorie effect. So there has to be another process in place. Anyway, have a great day. That's just my little tip on HCG. Have a great one. Don't forget to subscribe. See you later.